Welcome to our monthly discussion of issues in Greene County government with Greene County Mayor David Crum, as we will be talking about this past Monday's meeting of the Greene County Commission. Mayor, Merry Christmas, and thank you for joining us today.
Merry Christmas. Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Greene County, and we do want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Well, Monday's County Commission meeting, not a long agenda, but not a lot of items that generated a whole lot of discussion or controversy. The meeting kind of moved along at a good clip, and but one of the issues that was pretty much the central part of the meeting was a joint meeting with the Greenville Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the Greenville Housing Authority for the purpose of wrapping up the 1992 redevelopment of the General Morgan Inn, wrapping up that process, and then the works are going to be putting in place to start a new one at some point in the future.
Yeah, that TIF tax increment financing was developed some years ago. With that development, it seemed to work well there, and it needed to be closed out. So as Greenville looks to try to do some development downtown, that tax increment financing could go into place there. Kind of hit just a little bit one of those things. There's a lot of different tax deferment and things that can be put in place to help with development of business. A lot of it also is used in retail. And one of the things that I think before I got involved as a commissioner and stuff, would think tax deferment is you're actually not paying taxes, and that's not the case. What typically happens is when a business or manufacturer is coming in order to give them some incentives to help them with their startup cost and to getting involved. We'll use the example, if you go out and buy a farm that would be listed at a lower tax rate than manufacturing, they would continue to pay that rate of tax that had been paid for a certain number of years, and then after X number of years, it would be appraised at the value for that manufacturing thing. So it gives companies a chance to get a startup. It's being used also a lot more in retail than it had in the past as those programs develop. So it does not cost the taxpayer or have a negative impact upon our property tax coming in order to give those incentives. And part of the reason is you want business developing, and with the tax incentives that will happen in the development downtown, it may be for a certain area, and what you hope is that area grows. You have businesses develop that are outside, peripheral businesses that come in and grow that are not part of that tax incentive. So, and you get employment and people coming in, so it can really help in developing businesses.
I know one of the attractions for the town of Greenville for one of the things that they voted on was getting officially transferring the ownership of the conference center to the corporation that has run the facility over the years. And one of the advantages to that is that it's going to put the conference center on the city tax rolls now. So they will start to see money coming in out of that they weren't getting before.
Right, and I think the estimate on the county part of that is about $21,000 that will increase our tax revenue there.
So that's a win-win for everybody, and something that it will certainly be following along as that continues. The talks start to continue. Will this be a county-city cooperation for whatever the new TIF is?
I would guess so. That it will run similar to those that have in the past, and some work with the Industrial Development Board in developing some of the bigger manufacturing, but if it helps the city, it's going to help the county also in generating people coming in and moving, to generate business, and that entrepreneur spirit is what you really hope to drive.
One other item, or among the other items on the agenda from Monday night, was a revisit of the Clear Springs Community Center situation. The last meeting, it was voted that the Ruritan Club could take over the building because the community center apparently was no longer in existence, and discovered shortly after that meeting that they were still in existence. And of course, that's going to require some work between the club and the community center to try and work some things out.
Yeah, that's one of those that I really hate to say was really an oops moment for us, that we had some information that the community center group was no longer active, and I think that stance was taken because they had missed a period of time that they weren't sending in some stuff with the state, but they say they were still active, they're still alive, which was always so. We rescinded and put that back in the process as it was before. They're going to try to work together to resolve any of the issues that they have. As I say it there, and I don't mean it jokingly at all about an oops, but you want to learn from the things that goes on. A lot of times we do 2 readings. City does that a whole lot more than we do. We do 2 readings on speed limits, and that was a second reading on one of these, because sometimes whenever it comes out just like this, that whenever it got out on the radio and the newspaper and more publicized than just by our agenda, then people saw. So we may look at some of those issues like that as doing 2 readings, so that the public not only gets it on the agenda and that runs, and I know you tell people in advance on what may be heard, but they may miss it. So we learned some things from that one also, that hopefully we won't have to deal with that issue again, to kind of back up and hit the undo button and start over.
Another item was about 5 years ago, the county entered into an agreement for some energy savings, efficiency with buildings as far as lights and heating and cooling and whatnot. It didn't really work out, and it was agreed that the agreement with the company was going to be terminated.
It was. We went through and did a lot of energy upgrades to our facilities, and part of that we were paying a $7,500 a year agreement for them to continue to monitor and provide us information. And at the end of the time, if we had not achieved those energy savings, then we could possibly get some reimbursement. We went through that, and most of those things we did were really good. I mean, you take old buildings like we have and upgrade them with more energy efficient windows and programmable thermostats, and controlling the heat and thermostats so that people can't run heat and cool way down to really control that. You're going to save some money, but we felt like that we were at a point that we could monitor that without having to pay that $7,500 a year. And as I told somebody, well, $7,500 doesn't seem like a whole lot of money in an $80 million a year budget, but at the end of 10 years, that's $75,000. If you don't need to spend it, then don't spend $7,500. So that was the action, and the commission agreed with that, and I think it's in our best long term that we can take care of our energy savings at this point, or control our energy cost a little bit better ourselves.
Another item was the budgeting some money that was set aside for upgrading some software at the circuit court clerk's office. And a lot of times there's a little bit of misunderstanding about, sometimes it's, you say, well, they're spending $60,000 on software. Well, that money was already set aside for that purpose. A lot of times there's items in the budget that are earmarked for certain purposes that they can only be spent on those purposes. So it's not really wasting money or spending it frivolously. The money's already there. It's there to be used.
It is, and a lot of offices do have that, and the circuit court clerk is one that out of fees that she collects, a certain amount goes into a certain fund for that, and it helps. It's kind of mandated somewhat at state level, but they understand upgrades are going to be necessary, so it kind of puts that in that restricted account. And what we have to do then is bring it before the commission to get that approval to move it from that restricted account into actually using it, so that everybody knows what it's being spent for, and it's being spent for exactly what the intent was. So yeah, it's that should help the clerk's office.
And there were a number of fund some budget resolutions, just moving some money from point A to point B. One of them is pretty significant, though. It's budgeting some money to hire a person who will be the new budget director. It gives you an opportunity to bring somebody on board to work side by side with Mary Shelton for a couple months while she kind of shows them the ropes a little bit before her retirement.
It is. That's just a key position in our county government, and any job, I think people understand you need a training curve and a little bit of cycle, and that will give the person that comes in as our budget director a couple months there to go through that final budget making process and to just kind of get on board. There's a lot of grants and things that we have to follow and keep track of in that office, and so I think everybody understood, and the vote reflects that. I mean, it was a unanimous vote that I think everyone on the commission understood that we need to have somebody in place and not just starting July 1.
What's your timeline for bringing somebody in, for posting the position, for interviews, hiring, etc.?
Now that we've got this, I'll get started on that in just the next few weeks to try to get something posted and put out there. We've gone through some of the requirements. We think Ms. Shelton believes that someone that has some experience in government accounting is a must, because government accounting is different than private sector accounting. And so we need somebody that has some experience in accounting, and preferably some that has some government experience. I've tossed out, we're getting audited now. The state comes through and does our audits, and I mentioned to them, look, if you know somebody out there that's looking, let them know. I've actually made contact with one person. At this point, they're not interested, but I hope we find someone that will be very good in that position that can continue, because you're working with a lot of elected officials, department heads, the public in that. So it is very key for us to find a good fit for that individual.
One announcement that was made during the meeting is that the Greene County Charter Commission has submitted their charter, and now it's just going to be wait until the election coming up in August of next year to determine whether or not it passes or not.
It is, and it's on our Greene County website. You can go on there and look at that. It's several pages, and but it's on there for if you want to go and take a look at it.
Also, we talked about on the meeting on Monday. A little bit was brought up about recycling as well. Some good numbers and some good information that was provided on the recycling program too.
It is. That's one of those things we've talked several times before, Jim, about if you recycle it, and one, it doesn't cross the tipping scale, so it doesn't cost, and also it can generate some revenue with this time of year at Christmas and the things. We're going to be generating a whole lot of corrugated boxes and plastics and things that can be recycled. So if you would kind of please look at, you go to convenience center and ask them, some maybe the electronic and some other things that we can accept.
Speaking of the convenience centers, with Christmas Day being tomorrow, will they be open tomorrow for Christmas Day, or are they going to be closed?
They're closed Christmas Day, but then they'll be reopening right after that on schedule.
And what about New Year's Day? Will they be open New Year's Day? Have they determined that? Do you know?
Let's see.
It'll be a Friday.
There's 4 days that they close: Christmas, Easter, New Year's, and Thanksgiving. Yeah, they close those 4 days.
Okay, so they'll be they will be closed on Christmas Day and New Year's Day as well. Will the convenience centers, in case you have any trash that needs to be taken out those days. They're all open on Saturdays. So fortunately, with Christmas and New Year's falling on a Friday this year, you just hold on to it another day and take it out on Saturday.
But if everybody does that, they're going to fill up. So kind of remember that.
Get there early.
Yeah.
So that's some of the items that were discussed at the County Commission meeting on Monday. When we come, we're back with our interview with Greene County Mayor David Crum. I'm Jim Miller. During the meeting on Monday night, a couple of commissioners unable to be at the meeting, including Commissioner Ted Hensley, who's been ill and he's getting some support from the other county commissioners.
They have. Ted's made it known that he's battling pancreatic cancer, and he would solicit your prayers, and we would ask that you do pray for Ted during this time as he goes through treatment and process. In that, Commissioner Peters brought us in a little lapel pin, so you'll see a lot of the commissioners will be wearing that, and people in support of Ted during this process, and so we do want to remember him.
This couple weeks ago was the Greenville Christmas Parade, and as you did last year, you walked the entire route. Beautiful day for the parade this year, and a lot of people out on the streets, and a lot of candy getting distributed to all the people in the community.
It was a gorgeous day. It was the biggest crowd I can remember seeing in times besides just the campaign, and in my prior job at the police department sometimes being involved. It was a huge packed crowd. I teased it. I had just a little over 6,000 pieces of candy and ran out about the car museum. So there was a lot of people. It was just a beautiful day, and it seemed to just be a really good parade for that. People had a good time. I missed the Mohawk Parade. Was this past weekend. It's a much smaller but kind of a fun parade, but we were having an event at church at our St. Lord's Supper. I was just afraid I couldn't get to both of those. So, but it was good. And this time of season, there's a lot going on. Everybody's plate's full, looks like, besides not just literally with food, but just events.
Absolutely. The coming up next Thursday night, a week from tonight, is the Midnight on Main in downtown. It's a town and Greenville event, but it's still, folks from all over the place will be coming and enjoying music and dancing and having a good old time for New Year's Eve.
It will. We went, I guess last year was the inaugural event, and it was quite a surprise for us in that our daughter got engaged during that event last year. So that was a big event, and so it was really fun. I haven't looked out for what the weather may be like this year, but hopefully it's good. It was a little nip in the air, which you kind of enjoy for things like that, but you've got a busy week next week, Jim. The Ladies Classic. We do. The Landale Ladies Classic. It's underway Monday at Hal Henner Gymnasium. It's a 4-day event, and certainly it's a big draw for the community. Looking at it from a restaurants will be full, hotels will be full. People are going to be around doing stuff and coming from out of the area, and it's a real draw. It's become a real traditional event in the community, and it's got the community support that event has is just amazing with so many people. If you go out, if you've never been there, it's certainly something you want to go see. Just 4 days of nothing but great girls basketball, and people from all over the community come on out, old, young, tall, short, it doesn't matter. They're all there enjoying basketball. It is, and we've got another event going on down at Hardin Park. The lighting down at the park. I was down at the middle school track last night for a little while, and there was just a lot of cars going through. I started to call Butch and say, man, you got a successful event, but it looks like a lot of lights, so that's a great little event if you're in wanted to go do a lighting exhibit to drive through, that you don't have to go far. Don't have to leave Greene County for that one.
And it's free of charge. They do take donations, but the Greenville Parks and Recreation does a wonderful job of putting that together, and it's something that after church on Friday night or Thursday night tonight, might want to drive on through and check it out. I think we might be doing that. Yeah. So a number of events. Of course, once we get into January, then we kind of start to buckle down a little bit. They'll start to be looking ahead towards budget issues, and we don't want to cloud our heads with too much right now. We kind of want to enjoy the season a little bit and then worry about what's to come. But how would you classify the county financial footing right now? Good. The wheel tax continuing to bring in the revenue that you want to have it?
It has. It has helped a lot. It's our Moody's rating has improved a little bit. It's in the same like A category that in that, but it took away some of the watch that they had on. That we've taken some improvement. As you say, we don't worry too much, but we've talked about a little bit in this conversation, convenience centers and things that we still have some real shortfalls in that area in the highway department. It's going to be tough, and I know David McLean's had some stuff weighing heavy on him with the revenue on food services and things. They've got some real issues they're looking at in there as loss of revenue in the food service area. So.
He's the last guy to brag on himself, but we have to talk too about the sheriff's department and about the jail and Pat Hankins and everything that goes on down there with them, and just the continued high praise that they get from the folks that come in and check them out on a regular basis. And they had their evaluation recently that went very well, and continue to just see and hear good things coming out of the sheriff's department.
Yes, have to echo that with you, Jim. Just the accreditation and the things that are going on down there. And our community would be hard-pressed to do some of the things if it wasn't for the work that we get out of inmates. Of course, they get something and they volunteer. They're getting good time credits for that. But we use those at solid waste. I was down there this morning with them for a little bit, and I think they had about 10 inmates. And they bale that corrugated and plastic and work and stuff there at the center to get things ready there. So that helps generate revenue. And then animal control usually has a couple, and just all the different places that they're used. And the litter crew out. The sheriff and David Williams have worked real good in that. They've kind of coordinated to follow along with behind the mowing and things, so whenever roads are getting mowed, that they're getting picked up, so we're hitting parts of the area that maybe haven't been picked up before. But there's just they're an active. There's a lot goes on at the detention center.
Well, I think I'm about out of things to say, so I guess all I'll say to you is I wish your family and everyone who touches your life a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, certainly. And it's hard to believe 2016 is around the corner, but we'll head long into it in a week or so, and look forward to a great year coming up.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Greene County, and Merry Christmas to all.